joining us this evening with Fran. Some of you may be familiar with Fran, but I'm going to assume that a lot of you, our new subscribers, are not familiar with Fran's amazing story, whereby she was incarcerated, got involved with the gangs with the substances in a UK city, and she ended up on this journey through the UK female prison system, where she met and was inspired by Kate Middleton, of all people. Can you believe it? Fran has her own YouTube channel, and all of her social links are in the description box below this video. She's also one of the ex-female gangsters in my book, Sit Downs with Female Gangsters. And please go and support Fran at her YouTube channel. Link is in the description box, and I'll put it in the live chat shortly as well. So before we get into all this, huge thank you for coming on, Fran. And you know, for viewers who are not familiar with your story, if you just give them a little bit of background before we get into this, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so thank you for having me on, Shaun, anyway. And so I was done for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. I served 3 years, 8 months behind bars, got into the drug world from about 13, was a drug addict, hence why I ended up selling drugs. And now I'm out of that world totally, set up a YouTube channel to support, you know, people that might be facing prison or have an understanding about why we do the things we do.
All right, so I know I've sent you some little bit of information about Julia. You've not really been following the story in the depth. The people on this channel have been following it, but your expertise is in the UK prison system. So from what you've seen today, then, what do you think is happening with her right now in terms of her getting processed? Would she be shipped out away from Leicester? Let's start with that kind of a question.
So basically, first of all, she could go anywhere. It really depends. Obviously, it has to be a remand prison. Even if you're sentenced, you go to remand prison. They don't take reception people in at other prisons. So, you know, it could be Bronzefield, it could be Peterborough, it could be, like I said, the closest one that's got beds available. And she could still be sat waiting in reception now because they normally take people after court. Now, if she hasn't got a bus there waiting for her to pick her up, there could be one somewhere else. That van's got to get to the courts, then get her. So she could currently still be sat in reception waiting to go to her cell.
So if she arrives at one of these prisons, then will they know she is coming because she is so high profile?
They will probably try and keep it really quiet. I mean, obviously, if people are following this on the news, the girls are going to be like, oh my God, I wonder if she's going to come here. But obviously, the prison will probably try and keep it as quiet as possible. Because she's so high profile, I doubt they'll put her in segregation for a little while. It's not like her crime is a wrong crime. Do you know what I mean? So she'll probably just get put straight into the general public.
Yeah, let's talk about the nature of crimes and how people are treated in the female side, because sometimes it's different from the men's side. So if, you know, a person has harmed a child, for example, then in the female side, there might be some convict justice for that, mightn't there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, they'll straight away be put on either an enhanced wing or a vulnerable wing. That I sort of call it like a protection wing. So if they go on enhanced, you know, I might have to work my ass off to get on there, but they'll come straight on there because they know the people on there don't want to cause trouble because they don't want to lose the privileges, or they'll just go to where all them kind of people go. Normally, they tend to sort of go to one wing of the prison.
All right, so the views are zooming up in the live stream here. We're over 1,000 watching live presently across all the socials. I'm here with Fran, who did time in the UK. So please put your questions in the live chat for Fran, because she has absolute expertise on all the UK prison conditions, the politics, the dynamics, how the officers treat them, etc. And we will get as much information as we can so we can try and get an understanding of Julia's journey. Now, Julia has been portrayed by the mainstream media as an absolute crackpot, an imposter, a fake, who's mentally ill. And the trolls have been saying, you know, me having her on here, I'm just taking advantage of this person, etc. But she was referred to us by John Wedger, an ex-Scotland Yard detective, who said, Shaun, ignore the media headlines. Julia is a lovely young woman, and all she's struggling to do is to find out her identity. That's all she wants. And my mum was adopted. She spent decades trying to find her natural parents. So that resonates with me when someone, I know if you don't know your identity, you don't know who your parents are properly, you will move heaven and earth. And my mum went through depression and anxiety and all kinds of things on her journey. So I understand what Julia is going through. So because that is what is motivating her, and that is what the police have used to classify as criminal acts, when the prisoners understand Julia's journey, how will they treat her? Because I'm just a bit worried that they'll see these headlines in the media and the prisoners will think, oh, that's true. But if they give Julia a chance to tell her side, it's a completely different story.
I mean, you've got to remember the first thing is, Shaun, people in prison, they don't trust the media. You know, a lot of people have already been portrayed by them, so they will hear her out. And I think so many people are going to take her under her wing, because in prison you have mum, you have pops, you have auntie, you know, and I think there's women in there that even though they've gone to prison, they would absolutely die for their children. You know, they would do anything. And you know, if your child's gone missing, you would do anything to find your child as well. So I actually think a lot of people are actually going to look after her.
Well, that is reassuring to hear, Fran. Thank you. Now, the most common question that's coming up in the chat is, what kind of visits would she be allowed at this stage of her journey?
So if she's on remand, so for example, in Bronzefield, when I was on remand, I was allowed to visit 6 days a week. The only reason you couldn't have 7 is because they never done visits on a Friday. So I do believe that should be the same across all of the prison, like remand prisons. So she'll be allowed to have visits from anyone, but she's got to obviously have their name, date of birth, and address to be able to add them on the system to be able to go and visit her.
Now, is there a limit in the UK on how many people you can have on your visitation list? Where I was housed in Arizona, there was like a limit of 10 people.
No, I had more than 10 on mine. I definitely had more than 10 people, because I pretty much had a visit every day for 8.5 months, and it wasn't the same people.
Is it the case that the prison will have to let the public know she's there? Like in America, you know, each prisoner's got a number, and the public can call a prison phone number and put the number in. It tells them where they are. There's a website, tells them where they are, tells them the charges, everything. Is it the same in the UK, or do they hide people in the system?
No, I think they hide people in the UK, especially when it's such a high profile, because the prison don't want the publicity.
So is it the case then that if the public found out she was at prison A and it became a big deal, she would be passed on to prison B?
It depends on her behaviour. Not really, no. Because I mean, they're going to find out regardless, and then they're just going to have to keep moving her and moving her. So that isn't the case. But I just, for some reason, it's hard to find out where somebody is until obviously women talk to women and it gets out.
Jen is saying, do you still have mates in the system who might be able to look after you?
I'm on it, Jen. Hi. I'm on it. Honestly, I've been messaging everybody today. So fingers crossed we'll be able to find out soon.
Oh, that's fantastic. Will they arrest Shaun for helping Julia? I don't think Fran can answer that one, JA3.
Well,
let's
but
not
no, I mean, there's no reason, is there, to, you know, we're all allowed to help and support people.
Yeah, just to expand on what's happened as well, Fran. So the police are alleging that Julia has a pattern of contacting the McCanns, and they're citing a visit she did. She doorstepped them and recorded a conversation with them. She went to a vigil that they were supposed to attend, and they're saying that she's contacted them through social media, WhatsApp, etc., including the siblings. So they're saying because it's multiple incidences, that constitutes harassment and stalking. So that is the basis for the allegations right now. Did you ever come across anyone in the system that had charges, anything like that?
I'm sure there was one girl. I can't remember the whole story, but no one will care about that. Unless it's anything to do with a child, nobody will care what your crime is.
And to lose a child is the most horrific thing in the world, which is what the McCanns have gone through. But some people think that they were negligent in. If I took baby Ziggy overseas, I wouldn't, just leave him. So I imagine that some of the prisoners have concerns over the nature of Maddie being missing.
So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people obviously think, the parents are at fault. I want, that's everyone's opinion. So they're gonna have a judgment on the parents, not Julia. I really think they're gonna want to help her and support her. I mean, one, it's so high profile. People, some girls are just gonna be like, oh, let me be your friend, and because you're someone so big, but also I think there really will be genuine women that really will feel for her, and she's just lost the plot. She wants to know. She wants to know these people are her parents, and I can't imagine what that would do to me mentally.
Yeah, exactly. So Carrie is asking, how do visitors give her details of addresses, etc., if she doesn't know them, but she wants them to visit? Isn't she in a bit of a catch-22? Like, people don't know where she is, and if they've took her phone, she wouldn't have the information or the means to contact.
Yeah, that's correct. This is, this is part of why I do the channel that I've done, is to prepare women. So when you go in, you'll get a 5-minute phone call, but you've got to know a phone number off by heart. They're not going to switch your phone on. That stuff is in a bag, stored, sealed. They're not going to let you get your phone out. So you need to know a phone number for one. The only thing you can do is write to pretty much every prison, but with her name and the date of birth on there. I don't know 100% in every prison, but I know recently a friend of mine, our other half, went to prison, and they said that you can write here. We can't tell you if they're here, but make sure you write their date of birth on the envelope. So then you would have to write to her and then put all your details in there, and then she'd add you on.
So typically when a prisoner's just arrived, then does it take them like several days or a couple of weeks to get all that in motion whereby they can get visits? Visits don't just happen overnight.
Yeah, no, it can be an absolute nightmare because, like I said, if you haven't got the details with you, you get 2 free second-class letters a week. So you'd have to write home, write to whoever. Obviously, you've got to know the address. Then you've got to ask them for them details. They've got to then write back in, or they could email a prisoner. So it'd be a lot quicker. Once you've got the prison number, you can email them, and then she'd have to add them on. Then they've got to be cleared by security. So, like you said, it could be a good 2 weeks before you can get it all set up and running.
And then to email a prisoner, is there a website that the public can go to set that up? And do you have to like register and put money down so that Julia can respond?
Yeah, so if you go to email a prisoner, just put it into Google, and then what you do is, because I've used it before quite a few times, you put all your details in, your address and everything like that, and then you just pay by card and you add like £5 on. You can write them up an email, but you've got to know their name. I think I'm not 100% sure on the date of birth, but you need to know their prison number and the prison that they're in. And then you can pay 25p for a reply sheet on top, and then they can reply back to you. It's a much quicker process.
And how important to prisoners are emails and letters and visits?
Oh, them hugely, honestly. Like, I was a nightmare for replying, but just getting mail and knowing that people hadn't given up on me, they were still there, especially now they've got the email prisoner, guys, if you've got someone in there, you just a 2-liner. Like, I used to get them and I used to just love it. Having something put through your door every day, sort of knowing about the outside, and you sit texting, so you can sit and, write a quick email, and visits as well.
Yeah, so a few people are asking, why are they holding that? Because it seems pretty lightweight, these charges. And in my experience in America, if you were from a foreign country, you were much less likely to get bailed out because they considered you a flight risk. Did you ever experience anything like that in the UK system with the foreign population?
So they would never get bail. I don't think they would all get like deported, sort of 9 months. They'd get 9 months off their sentence and they'd get deportated back to their country. I don't think I know anybody that would have got out, because like you said, they would have flee.
So do you think there's a chance then that because of the flight risk factor, she might be incarcerated for the whole duration of the legal process and then deported?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, because obviously you've got to have the right to live in the UK, so that might be the problem. So if she's got the right to live in the UK, then she might well get bail, and then obviously they could take her passport and give her restrictions of not going anywhere near her, who she thinks her parents are, and then, but obviously if she's not got the right to live in the UK, then they will keep her in prison.
So Pam is wondering, for outsiders then who are going into these institutions, what are you allowed to take in when you are visiting? And is there anything you are not allowed to have?
So you're not allowed to have anything other than a bank card. So you can buy food for like who you're visiting, but yeah, that's it. Sometimes they don't even let you wear hoodies and stuff. You do need to check with the prison. But other than that, yeah, you can't take anything in.
And if you are visiting, do you need to present ID?
Yeah, so I would advise you to take your driving license, passport, and then also a letter of proof of address, because some of them can be really anal. Like,
So Jenny's wondering if you can give a detailed description of what her first day night would be like.
she's going to be absolutely terrified. I'm not going to lie. I say to women all the time, the first 2 weeks are horrific, but obviously the first night is the absolute worst, because if she comes in any time from like now, it'll be really quiet. I mean, someone might have their music on or whatever, but it'll be really quiet. And then obviously she's going to sit there. There might be a chance that her TV doesn't work. And if it doesn't, if there's no aerial or something like that, then, you're sat there with your own thoughts. But then in the morning is probably more scarier than going in at night, because as soon as them doors unlock, like I said to everyone, it sounds like you've let the animals out of the zoo. It is just chaos.
And then does that start with chow in the house?
Sorry?
Does that start with the food getting served in the morning?
Yeah. So everyone just comes running out the cell. Everyone's like, if you haven't got a shower in your room, some people might run to the showers on the landing, and then serve reopens. Everyone gets their food, and everyone's shouting above everyone, and it's just like, and then it's like the officers shouting like, get ready for work, and it's just crazy. It's so noisy.
Would she have a cellmate right away, or would she get her own cell?
She shouldn't do. You're supposed to go in a single cell the first night, everybody. But if the prison is full and it was a last minute thing that she's gone there and there's only one room, like with a double, she could go straight into a double.
So in America, jail is remand unsentenced, and prison is where people go when they are sentenced. So there's some confusion amongst the viewers about, is she in a jail or unsentence prison or a proper prison where people are sentenced? But in the UK, isn't it all the same thing? They can just all be mixed.
Yeah, so it's all the same thing, but let's just say we've got 20 prisons in the UK, female, just as a guess. 4 of them will be remand. They class it as remand. So even if you've been sentenced, you will go to the remand prison, because they only take people from court. The other ones don't, but they're all the same. They look the same kind of thing. Obviously remand are a lot bigger than when you go to a sentence prison, but in Bronzefield, it holds 550 women. 300 of them women could be sentenced. They're just waiting on the ship out.
All right, so we've got 2,000 watching live. I'm here with Fran, and all of Fran's links are in the description box below this video. Please support her important work, helping people understand the dynamics of prison, helping ex-inmates get reintegrated into society. I'm going to put a link for Fran's YouTube in the live chat as well. If people are watching it on replay, it's in the description box. And Fran also has her own amazing story, which she tells on her channel. And we did a podcast with her years ago. And I'll put the link for the podcast we did with Fran. A very interesting aspect of that is she meets Kate Middleton, of all people, in prison, and is inspired. We'll run on with the Julie questions in a minute, Fran. But what was that like, meeting Kate Middleton?
Mate, it was insane. Like I say all the time, you don't meet her in the normal world, let alone going to prison. And I remember we found out on the sly, we wasn't supposed to know. Apparently, they asked me to do some documentary thing. And I was working at the front of the prison in like the staff cafe. I just started my rottles. And the woman come out, she was like, "You still down for doing that like interview thing?" I was like, "Yeah." She went, "Put this on. And then you got to be at the visits hall at 12:30. But some guy was telling an officer at the front. And then he was like, "Oh no," because he realised that like us four had heard him. So I'm going, "Oh my God," I'm going to the cell. I'm like, "Oh my God." Like, I was a bit surreal. And then when we sat in this room waiting for her to come in, I'm like, "Fran, don't swear. Fran, don't swear." Do you know what I mean? I was just like, "Don't ever got a curtsy and stuff like that." But it was insane. I got to sit with her for about 20 minutes as well.
So people are, there's a lot of questions coming up about visits. Is there such a thing as a no visit list in the UK?
So everyone's entitled to a visit, if that's what you mean. Some people don't have anybody on the outside to visit, but once you're sentenced, it's like 4 visits a month you get, and then if you're enhanced, which means you're a good prisoner, you get an extra 2 a month.
Oh, that's nice, Ruth. Fran is how I found Shaun's channel. Appreciate that. Yeah, so let me just go here. We got loads. Are there unlimited visits on remand, or is it just a certain amount of hours a week?
Yeah, so like I said, in Bronzefield, it was 6 days a week, only one a day, but it was 6 days a week, and you only couldn't have 7 because one of the days they didn't do visits at all. So it is unlimited, basically.
So some people are saying that her hearing may have been moved to next week in the chat. And I was told to check Julia's Instagram before I came on, but I will. I'll do that while Fran answers the next question. Fran, is there a difference because this is a stalking case over and above any other offence?
Not really. Sorry, my kitten's scratching me. No, like there's not. I mean, I think it's really. I think it's a stupid case to be in prison for, because obviously, okay, stalking can be a really bad thing. I think in this scenario, it's a little bit different. And like I said before, unless your offence is to do with children, it doesn't really matter if you've unalived someone or like even terrorism. Everyone just looks at everybody the same.
Right, I see. So they get along. In the male side, it's all drug gangs and people running up debts and getting beat up and all kinds of politics and drama. Does that cross over to the female side, or is it more civilized?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of debts and drugs and stuff like that. There's a lot of it in the female side. I mean, obviously, I was only in 2 prisons, and there was no such thing as gangs. It didn't matter if you was a geeky kid, if you black, white, Chinese, whatever. As long as you, like I said, you didn't do anything with kids, you all looked at the same. But there was fights over drugs and debts, but it's nothing in comparison to the men's. I think there's a lot more bitchiness than there is physicalness.
What was the craziest stuff you saw in the female prison in terms of altercations?
I mean, the most stupidest one was they just brought in the smoking ban. So I think that was about October 2017. And so everybody's running out, everyone's scrounging, and this girl's gone, "Oh, like there's a little bit of a roll up, give it to such and such." And then she smoked. She said, "Have a little bit and then give it to her." Anyway, this girl was fuming at how much she smoked. And I'm talking, they were punching each other's heads in over this bit of like tobacco. It was mental, but I mean, they're proper fighting like men. Like, it was crazy.
And it's gangs. In where I was at, it was all racial gangs. You got the postcode wars in the men's prisons in London. Did the women click up in different kinds of ways?
No, not only. I can only speak on behalf, obviously, of the 2 prisons I've been. I know there's a lot more rougher women's one, but there was no gangs. There was no like racism. I think I probably felt more racism off the officers than I did the prisoners. It didn't matter what religion you was. Everyone just got on with everybody. Well, kind of.
So how do the staff treat the female inmates?
So in the first one I was in Bronzefield, because it's quite near London, it's a lot like, you had all different sort of races of officers and stuff like that. So I didn't feel any racism in there, but it's weird because you've got the young ones that try and be your pal, then you've got the ones that you can tell that just kind of get a kick out of like shouting and screaming at you, and then you've got ones that like generally care. In the second prison, there was hardly any black officers, and you could see the way that they treated the black girls in comparison to the white girls. You could really feel it without them vocally saying it.
And what about people who are foreign prisoners? Do they get treated differently by the staff and the domestic inmates?
Yeah, no, they're quite good, really. I found that a lot of the reception staff are really great. Like, because I used to do the induction work, so I'd meet and greet the new women that came in, and if they were foreign, they would and couldn't speak English, they would try and go and find other girls that could speak the language and bring them to them to help settle them and stuff like that.
Yeah, Julia's got really good English, so I imagine. Is it the case that like if there was other Polish in the, they naturally gravitate?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's not because they're a gang or anything like that. It's just a bit of home, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah,
you will find that. Yeah.
yeah. It's like we've interviewed people who've been in prisons all over the world. Whatever country they get arrested in, they always find some Brits to click up with in the prison or whatever country they're from. So you're being asked by JA3 if you could slowly take us through your first night.
Do you know what? I went in with somebody that I got arrested with, and they was in the cell next to me, and I absolutely crapped myself. I don't even pretend to think that I'm big and hard, because I absolutely crapped myself, because all night, other than it was quiet, but then this one girl kept kicking and banging and screaming, but it went on all night. So you know that you've got to be mentally unstable to be able to do that, because I couldn't kick and scream all night. I'd just like pass out asleep on the floor. And I was just thought, oh my god, I'm in a mental place. Like you just absolutely crapping yourself. You don't know what you're going to come out to. You're like, oh my god, and you think it's like the movies. You got all your gangs and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I was scared.
You got a follow-up question about what your charges were and how long you served?
Yeah, so I got done for conspiracy to supply class A drugs. I got caught with 7 kilo of class A, and I served 3 years, 8 months.
And what was the food like for you on your first day?
It was horrible. The bronze food was really bad. The food was like, it was crap. It was like really small portions, but the second one, it was good. I'm not gonna lie, it was good. You'd have fish Friday, fry-ups on a Saturday morning. You could cook up food in the microwave. The canteen sheet was insane.
So would Julia then be just given whatever food was on offer that day, or did they have a menu in the UK prisons?
Yeah, so that day when she goes into reception, they'll give her, you know what you get in the police station, like a microwave meal. So if she turns up at the prison at 8 o'clock, they'll say, are you hungry? If she is, they'll give her food whilst waiting to be in reception, like to go to her cell. But then after that, then she'll have breakfast, lunch and dinner. And then what she'll need to do is request. So you do have a menu of what you want to eat, but she might just get, I can't think of the word, but basically you default because you haven't put in a thing, so you just get what you're given. But after a day or two, she'll be able to sort her menu out and she'll choose what she wants to eat.
You don't have such a thing as food visits in the UK, do you?
No,
We're outsiders.
no.
It's too risky, isn't it? Because of all of the contraband.
Oh yeah.
But you can supplement your diet with things you can buy from the inmate store. And Teresa is wondering, how much would Julia be able to spend per week if people are putting money on her books?
So because she's on remand, she'll be allowed £50 a week from the outside. So that will drop down onto her canteen sheet. So she'll get £50 plus when she starts work, she will get whatever she earns from work.
All right. And then what kind of stuff? Because where I was housed, it was all like garbage, cheap ass candy that they could just make a fortune off selling this rubbish to the prisoners. Is there anything nutritional in the UK?
Shaun, I think I've got a menu down in this box down here. You would not believe it. You can get garlic, onions, fruits like kiwi, all fresh fruit. You can get tins of tuna, all different tins, potatoes, sweet corn. You can get pasta, you can get spaghetti because we boil the water in the kettles or in a container, put it in the microwave and cook pasta that way. I'm talking sauces, any fizzy drinks, chocolate, makeup, liquids for your vape. Like, it's insane. Like, I've even got a video of it on my YouTube channel, so guys, if you're really interested, I could go on. I think it's 2 A4 pages like each side, but it's
So
crazy.
the list you've got, is that from when you were inside, or is that the present day list?
Yeah, so that's from when I was inside, but my friend inside, he sent me a picture and it's pretty much the same. You know, the prices would have gone up.
If you could email me a copy of that
Oh
after
yeah,
this
sure, yeah.
stream, I'd be interested to know what you
I
can
can send
access.
you the food menu as well, because they do like
Yeah.
halal, they do vegan. You know, you get vegan cheese and all that. It's mental. I'll fling it all over after.
And what's the procedure for people to put money on a books?
So you go on the government website, you just put how to pay a prisoner money, and then on there you need their name, the date of birth, and their prison number.
All right. So, and can people send money from around the world, or do they have to be in the UK?
No.